Hello and welcome to We Are Venture, the podcast for venture lifestyles. I'm Lara and this is Ruby.
Hi friends.
This podcast is an insight into our personal experience of creating and launching a startup brand. We're here to give you an honest take on some of the highs and lows and what we've learned throughout the journey so far. Okay, so shall I get started?
Yeah.
So welcome back. We're here again, episode 5.
Yeah.
So on our last episode, if you listened, we were talking about design features and the whole design process, initial stages really, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we kind of ended that podcast saying that we might elaborate a little bit further because I feel like it's a huge topic. And so we've decided to honour that. We were like, we'll stick with that. And so, yeah, we want to dig in a little bit deeper. As you can imagine, design is just huge. Design is everything. Every single aspect of the brand has been designed in some way, and it's all...
Yeah, and it's just ongoing.
Yeah, ongoing, yeah. So everything from like the garment itself, but all those individual features of the garment, but then everything to labeling, packaging, the website, social media, and making it all as fluid as possible and like cohesive so that when you see it, you see our brand and you see us. And yeah, so that's the aim. So in the first episode on design, we talked about the garments specifically, didn't we? And kind of where the inspiration came from for you and the idea of using like a mood board and things like that. So now we're at the stage where, I mean, that's all been designed. It's actually pending. It's on its way, isn't it?
The bulk is
Which
on
is
its
crazy.
way.
So again, if you watched episode 3, we talked about manufacturers. That process has happened.
Yeah.
And we're now waiting for the garments to arrive, the first batch. And we're just busily doing the final touches on our end, which is things like labeling, packaging. And so I feel like that's a good place to start, really, isn't it? Because you wouldn't believe it, but it's a huge process in itself, isn't it? Just like, so labels, for example, I forget all the names of them, but you have a care label, which is the label on like the inside, which tells you like washing instructions, things like that.
Yeah.
You've got what we call a brand label, which is like your label at the back.
Yeah. It usually has like the sizing and the brand name.
Brand name. Yeah, can be as simple as that. There's no requirements for that, is there? Like certain things like the care label have legal requirements.
Yeah.
Whereas this is just a personal preference. It can be a tiny tab. It can be a huge box. And then there's what we call the swing tag, which is that tag that attaches on when you buy it.
Everybody knows the annoying one.
Yeah, the one that you cut off after.
Yeah.
Again, optional, can be done in any format. So that's that. So even just that in itself, there's 3 different labels and they can all be made of different materials. And
yeah. Again, this kind of reverts back to looking at the inside of the garment, which I know I touched on when we were talking about tech packs and what they entail.
Yeah.
And I remember saying that you see it from like, you have to try and visualize it from the inside, like the reverse side, how the back looks. You know, it's not just what people assume at the front, which sounds obvious, but I don't think it actually is to some people that don't have a design background.
No.
So yeah, like labeling and things like that. It's, even there were some things, like I say, with a design background that I was like, oh, you have to have that on the care label. Like,
no.
I just thought people did that because it was cheap and easy and they were just churned out. And I was like, I don't actually like the design of a standard care label with the symbols and things. I know it's practical, but, well, you'll see on ours, we did actually change it, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. And even taking into account, because as we want it to be as sustainable as possible, but usually a care label is made from the cheapest fabric because it's just that little additional thing.
And again, most people cut it out.
Yeah, I was going to say, but you don't want it to be annoying. You know, so many of them are like itchy. So we wanted to think about that. I suppose the care label itself, as you say, we spent a bit of time thinking about the actual way we wanted to like format it. But that in itself was fairly straightforward, wasn't it? When it came to the brand label, this is where we can like express our individuality a bit. And yeah, I know for me, I just thought it was going to be a quick conversation of like, yep, so we want the name, size, no. Because that was actually going on that topic, size. That's a huge thing for us because people are put into boxes all the time in their life, aren't they? And something as simple as the size that you're wearing of your clothing can be a very like sensitive topic, I suppose.
Yeah, just
because for some people it's considered, you know, oh, you're a small, oh, you're a large, whatever the connotations around that are like. And so we really want to work on trying to come away from that, don't we? Because
and it's a shame because it does work.
Yeah, it does.
But there's just certain things where you're just a bit like, it's been around for so long. Like, why not switch it up a bit? Like, things have developed so much and people are a lot more sensitive nowadays than I feel like they used to be.
Yeah.
Not necessarily in a bad way, but you know what I mean?
No.
So...
And we've brainstormed it a lot, like, but either way, there's always going to be categories that we said, what if it was colours? Like, what if blue was small,
created our own,
and red was medium? But then it's still oh, you're a red.
Yeah.
There's still that, which obviously, you know, the majority of people aren't like that, but it's very easy for people to feel a certain way about it. So we talked about that for a long time. And so we have actually stuck with the standardized sizing, haven't we? More or less.
Yeah.
However, there was a big discussion between us of whether we were going to actually display it on the label, because it's like, is it necessary once you've bought the garment?
Yeah.
Do you need to look at it to know what size you are? Again, you'll find out what we ended up going with. But so I thought this was going to be a quick decision and it was just going to be a quick label, bam, whack it on. And then when we like delved into it, everything from like the dimension of the shape to how it was going to be stitched. Was it going to be stitched on all four corners? Was it going to be stitched
like
either
a loop
side?
Yeah,
like a little loop where you can put your fingers through. Was it going to be embroidered or like printed? I'm just trying to remember. I'm doing pretty well.
Really well.
And then, like I say, sizing, a little tab. Anyway, do you want to talk about the process of that, really?
Yeah, okay. So initially, the first thing was material.
Yeah.
I remember we were thinking, do we want it to be the same and match it completely, or do we want it to be something that's like completely different? We chose for different in the end, didn't we?
Yeah.
Again, because I think we want to appear as a bit more of like a luxe brand. And even if it's down to like our ethics, not even just the materials that we use, you know, it's not, we don't want it to be seen as fast fashion and, you know, just like things that are just churned off the reel for no purpose. We're trying to, even with like our design elements, wish we could say more.
I know.
It won't be long. Even with our design elements, it's been designed and with our USP that people don't have to buy loads and loads and loads in different like colours, for example.
Yes, yeah.
You know, things can be reused.
Yes.
But yeah, so going back to labels, we decided that we wanted to go for, especially with the brand label, it was a contrasting fabric, something that didn't itch or irritate, because we decided against printing, didn't we? Because we didn't want it to eventually wash off, which is what happens.
Yeah. That was an absolute no for us, wasn't it? In fact, wasn't there, I can't remember if this was with the labels, but remember when the manufacturers, because we've been really lucky with our manufacturers that there has been like dialogue back and forth. So certain things we've sent through that have been like, this is the design we want. And he has actually said, a couple of questions. He'll be like, okay, number one, you know, this looks great. Like, and then it'll be like, number two, have you thought about this ? And number three, like he'll kind of, which is
he
great
encouraged
for
it,
us.
didn't he?
Yeah, and it's helpful because he also knows how it works on their end. And there was something where he was suggesting like printing, or do you remember quite recently? And we were like, no, like it's just not.
Oh,
do you remember that?
So it was because the the size of the font that we wanted.
That was it.
He was saying it's going to be too small to be like embroidered onto it.
Yeah.
I was like, well, make it happen.
Yeah.
Because we don't want it printed.
Yeah. He even sent through, how about this? And he like sent an example of a printed one. And it's just not the looks feel, which sometimes I question, does he actually understand our, you know,
I think, it's also part of his job to like make sure that there's no backlash and the decisions we've made are informed. Yeah. And, you know, that is part of his job to question. But after a while we were like, we've been through this.
Yeah. Yeah. So certain things like that were non-negotiable, weren't they?
And it was such a simple solution. Like, okay, so the label's going to have to be bigger then. Fine. Mm-hmm. The fact that it's going to be, we decided that it was going to be attached on all four corners, didn't we? That it wasn't going to be a loop design. Mm-hmm. And because of that, it wasn't going to like irritate or scratch or itch the skin. Yeah. You know, because all the sides are like pinned down.
Yeah. And then another thing to think about.
Hold on.
I'll take the reins. What I was going to say is, another thing that we didn't think about at the time is once we designed that, because our fabric is fairly lightweight. Okay, get the laugh. Right.
Mortified. It didn't happen, okay? All right.
Okay, let me get on track.
Lightweight fabric.
Yeah, because it's lightweight. If you sew like a label on the inside, sorry. Oh God.
And cut.
Okay, just take a moment. Mm-hmm. We're on a roll. I'm a giggler, so
I know. I can't look at you.
Little short story, little anecdote. So for those of you that don't know, we went to school together. We met in year 7, and we went to school all the way up until year 11, and we took some classes together, Spanish being one of them. Yeah. That was a GCSE subject, and we both loved it. We sat on the same table. We also, our last names are both M, so if they ever sat us alphabetically, we were always next to each other, which was great. They didn't need to know we were friends. And the one lesson in particular that I can remember, we got the giggles on something so ridiculous, wasn't it? It was like, I'm not even going to go into it.
Yeah.
And
I don't think you should.
We got the giggles. And we got sent out, basically. Lara, Ruby, can you just leave the classroom, go and calm down and come back when you're ready? He was great, to be honest. Like, bless him.
Such a nice guy. Yeah. I would like to apologise. Mr. Buffery. We're sorry. It wasn't you.
This is the thing, it wasn't you. He thought we were laughing at him, I think, but it wasn't.
I wonder if he remembers this.
I know. Oh, surely not. Like, for us, it's a really like key moment, like core memory from high school. Anyway, we stood outside for a bit, like obviously laughing still. And then we were like, right,
go back
in. You ready? You ready? Right. Started to walk back in, instantly burst out laughing again, had to turn around.
I'm in pain right now. I'm trying to hold everything in.
And then obviously we had to stay at the end, and he was like, girls, why were you laughing? And we were like, honestly, no reason, like it's not you. Like,
no, but the fact is, he said, didn't he? He was like, is it me?
Yeah, is it something I said? Is it me?
No.
We also didn't really want to share what it was, because it was something just very trivial, you know. Anyway, I feel like that's rounded that off.
Yeah.
So
and
we're gigglers.
We haven't changed.
Yeah, the fact that we're doing it right now.
It's shameful.
I know.
Anyhow.
So,
back to labelling.
I think I can do it now.
Yeah.
So thin fabric, the label gets sewn on the inside, but you don't think about it, but the little stitches can show through the other side, if that makes sense. So even that design feature had to be adjusted, didn't it? So that you can't see it. And I think a lot of garments have this, where they'll put like another piece of material basically to like
a yoke.
To like shield or cover that up basically. So there are all these factors that we had to think about. Then that was all done in one stage, really, wasn't it? Because once that's all sent off, the garment's now being made, as I say. We're now in the process of finalising like swing tags and garment bags. So these are the additional features that kind of get attached onto the garment that just basically when you receive it, whether it's online or eventually in a store, that's how you will receive the garment. So swing tag, this is a whole other thing.
I think we just tried to see it as it's almost like how you wrap a present.
Yeah.
It's like first appearances, you know, and from the swing tag, not so much the brand label. Like, yes, you may be able to see it depending on where the neckline sits.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously on a hanger or whatever.
Yeah.
But that and the care label in general is one of those like extra little details that you'll only see when you put it on.
Yeah.
But the swing tag, that's the thing that people pick up in shops. Like, oh, how much is that? Like,
yeah, exactly.
And I was so surprised that without name dropping, how like I was doing a little bit of market research and going into different shops and looking at different brands and what they used, ordering things that I knew I was going to return online just to see what their swing tags were like and the quality. Crazy how like shockingly cheap.
Yeah, really
and
cheap,
gross
actually.
a lot of them are for like a brand that, or multiple brands that have like a nice reputation. Like the clothing is like a moderately high standard, you know. So
for
it's
some,
little
it might be
corners like that
that
they're just like, oh, it's going to get ripped off. Who cares?
Yeah,
and they've already maybe when they first established their brand, they like us were on every detail, every minor thing was like developed, and we weren't happy until, you know, it was perfect. But I wonder now that they are fast fashion brands and it's just being like mass produced, that it's like, oh, no one cares about that, just stick anything on.
Yeah.
And
actually,
I'm glad to say that's one thing that we won't do and won't lose. Like, I don't want that. And
the challenge as well for us has been, so the manufacturer themselves, they can do the swing tag for you. It's a big package they can do.
Yeah.
And they sent us a demo of it, didn't they? Or a version of it. And instantly we were like, no. Again, it was that cheaper fabric, wasn't it? Cheaper like card material printed on. And yeah, we decided to go a different direction. So as painful as it is, like that could have just been a quick, easy, we'll go ahead with it, and it would have been much cheaper, to be honest.
Yeah, like it had all the information on it. It was fine.
But we decided to go a different direction, so that has meant that we've had to source it elsewhere, which is just another thing altogether. So aside from having manufacturers for the garments, we have, I suppose, a manufacturer for our swing tags. So we found I suppose a small business, really, isn't it?
Etsy, wasn't
it? That
Are we allowed to say that?
Tags. Yeah, I think so. I felt
I've said it.
And that's what they do. So we sent the design itself, and again, there's a plethora of different types of swing tags, different cards. Even the thickness of the card varies, and textured, non-textured, shiny, matte. Embossed, is that the word? And debossed. Yeah, like whether it's pushed in or out. So we were quite clear on the design in the end, weren't we? It was just then finding who was going to do it for us and at what cost. And there's certain things that, honestly, over time, looking back, we might be like, oh, we could have done that cheaper, or we might find contacts that make it more affordable. But at this point, it's just like, what gives us the most comfort of we know we're going to receive what we're asking for. We just have gone with what's accessible to us at this moment in time.
I think like most things nowadays, like if you want anything that's of like substantial quality, or I'm just trying to think of an example, like I'm just trying to think. Okay, let's say like organic food. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like the difference between organic food and non-organic food, insane. Like it's the same in any design aspect, I guess, when like from a manufacturer, if you want that extra little bit and they play on the fact that, oh, this is more environmentally friendly, so it's going to go like way up. And it's the same that even something as small as the swing tag, which most people are like, oh, like, I'm just going to take it off. It doesn't matter. But to us, it really does.
Yeah.
It is the face. Everything is the face of the brand and what it represents. And if there's any bit of like cheapness or like stuff that you're just going to discard and you're like, oh, that lets it down.
Yeah.
Like, we just didn't want any part in it, did we?
And don't get me wrong, it's not like it didn't like cross our minds. Like we've had to like discuss each time, haven't we? Like, oh, could is that something we could afford to do cheaper, or is that something that they only cut it off? But I mean, very quickly we're like, no, not an option, and we'll go back to the other.
Yeah. And even if it took us like, okay, we've got to cut our cloth in some way, but it's not that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Or we'll have to just save a little bit longer and go for the product that we actually want.
Yeah.
And again, when you order more units of things, generally it gets cheaper.
Yeah, exactly.
So and the fact that we're starting on a small scale means that the price per unit is more. So that was all those things that need to be like factored in, really.
Yeah.
Which we kind of like learnt the hard way, I guess.
Yeah. And that's the same then with the garment bags and mailers. So again, just to explain, so the garment bag is like the bag that the garment comes in. It's like the tight bag around it, isn't it?
Yeah, usually, and it can come in other forms as well.
Yeah,
like some people put it in tissue paper in a box.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
It's just what goes round the clothing initially.
Yeah, and then the mailer is like that outer...
the bit that gets thrown around by the postie.
Yeah, the bit that you see when it comes in the post. So again, the mailer itself can be so standardized. It can just be a really generic mailer bag, or some brands, especially more luxury brands, will have their own mailers that are sometimes even branded. Again, these can be the cheapest, like plasticky fabrics. It can be like material, should I say. It can be compostable, biodegradable, all these things. So that obviously was, for us, the main thing was sustainability, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Which we've gone for with that.
And we toyed with so many different options with that as well, didn't we? Because obviously there's like craft paper, which, to be honest, a lot of brands are doing now, where it comes in a slightly like sturdier envelope type bag with some minimal branding on.
Yeah.
That's quite common at the minute, I feel. A nice alternative to the plastic packaging that just gets churned out, especially, as I say, by like the fast fashion brands.
Yeah. But I think the mailers are something that we're not like married to, in the sense that we've gone with an idea
not at all.
That could easily change next time round or in a few years' time. Like,
well, yeah, because it's not only like practicality, like is it going to tear? How's it going to appear? Like when it's actually delivered to you, all these things like matter. But ultimately, what we want is something that gives us the least like carbon footprint or the least damage to the planet.
Yeah.
So that is our like ultimate deciding factor, really, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like we'll experiment with this one.
Yeah.
We've done our research. It's a really great product. If that doesn't work, or we get some feedback and it's, not up to scratch, then we'll try and find something else. But I agree. We're not fixed on that.
And I think in terms of finding these like sources, obviously the internet is huge. Like you can just search it, but there's so many, and yet there also isn't. Like we've looked, haven't we? And without knowing who to contact or where to reach these people, like I don't know. It's just been a simple Google, go through different websites, see what they offer, bit of price comparisons, look at reviews.
Well, that's it. Because I think because of our experiences with manufacturers and, being led astray, or they weren't being entirely truthful about their process. And I know we mentioned the one manufacturer that we pulled out of, and we were like, oh, thanks so much, we'll be in touch kind of thing. So we dug up all their history and realised they weren't like reputable. Yeah. And it's the same sort of, it leaves a taste in your mouth, doesn't it? Being like, oh, can I even like, how do I know who like these people, I know. Is the website just like...
And also
a
sometimes...
cover? Have they got 5 or 6 sister websites of the same thing, just a different company name, And
sometimes you hit on a good one almost first time round, but then I think you think, oh, what is this the best we can do, or is this the best price for this. Like, you'd hate to order it all and then find out later, oh my God, look at this different one.
Yeah.
So even just that, I mean, which you could argue us waiting and like deliberating things, you know, is a benefit to us, because it means that eventually we come to the right decision. But sometimes I think we do, it's never wasted time, but we spend a lot of time and then we end up with the first one, don't we? And it's just about
sometimes
trusting
you go
your gut.
full circle.
Yeah. And again, it could be, it's kind of lack of confidence, isn't it? Because we're confident in our vision. We're confident in, our creativity and the design itself, but the actual trusting in
like
people
outsourcing
is what we have no confidence in, honestly, because until we have experience in it and it's worked for us multiple times, then we can go, oh, actually, we know how to do this, how to communicate with these people. We know what's good, what isn't. And there's been no one to learn from either, has there?
No.
So it's just been a bit of a minefield. So that's the mailer. And then similarly to the garment bag. So the garment bag, we've decided to make slightly more personalised. Yeah. Again, it doesn't have to be branded, but we've decided to make it branded so that you'll see it and it will be again, it can be tossed, but the fabrics will be sustainable. We're in the process at the moment of sorting that, aren't we? It's kind of like the last thing.
It's literally, it's the last thing that we have to tick off. But it's been one of those things that we keep like going back to, and we're like, garment bag.
Yeah.
Like, what? Because we toyed with so many options of, okay, what's its purpose? What's its function? Like, is it going to be sustainable? Like, how do we want it to appear when people take out the mailer? All these things that naturally we're overthinkers.
Yeah.
And we'll like dwell on a decision that ultimately to other people, they might not even think twice. They're like, oh yeah, that looks nice. That'll do. Like,
crazy.
But we don't have a that'll do
mentality,
unfortunately. So even if we do go full circle, which a lot of the time, as you said, we do.
Yeah.
It's worth it, because otherwise I'd regret just like, it's not in my nature to or yours to settle for like the first thing that comes to mind.
No.
Like, come on.
Yeah. And also we have the luxury of time at the moment, like with waiting for the garments. There's no need for it to be like decided today, because until the garments arrive, we don't need the garment bags and we don't need the swing tags. And
we've also got time, like even though we've got what's called like the lead time of when it's actually being manufactured and then transported to us.
Yeah.
Not only have we got that time, but until we can start promoting the clothing, things like that, there's so many other things that we need to plan. It's like chicken and egg, like shoots and models and photographers, videographers, all those things. So we have got time, and it's one of those things I was like, I just want to get ticked off.
I know,
now.
it'd be great to get that one done.
Yeah, we just need to click order on that.
Yeah.
I think if anything, that's just solidified for us. It's just like, okay.
Yeah, I know. That's for good.
We'll go home.
Yeah, we'll go sort that. We'll sort that later.
Yeah.
So on that topic, so design, that's kind of everything to do with the garment itself. Now, as a brand, the design doesn't stop there, because we also have to have a website, social media.
Yeah.
And I was actually thinking about this earlier.
Sorry, that's me ringing. Whoopsie.
I was thinking about how the website has evolved and how like those additional like website designs. You remember like the first ones we did with the moving image?
Yeah,
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So because
that.
Yeah, I love it as well. But we haven't decided to go that direction. So we had a concept, we had a vision, and we had like a color scheme and everything. And we had a full website that Rube designed. So this is another thing. So with website design, you can obviously hire website designers. There's plenty out there, very talented people who can do it for you very quickly, which obviously is still an option for us. We can still bring someone on board, but there is also a lot of softwares that anyone can use to design their own website. It takes probably a bit more time, but you know, anyone can do it. Then there's certain features that maybe require a bit of a subscription, or you have to like invest a little bit more in it. And do you remember a couple of years ago, we spoke to that guy? We actually had like a consultation, and he gave us like a rundown of his services and what he would do for us. And
Yeah.
do you remember that?
Yeah.
Because the website itself, again, it's something we're going to hold back a little bit on. We have a few interesting ideas for the website that, we're not going to launch just yet, but making it quite interactive, basically. And he was really willing he kind of saw the vision. He could do it for us. But in the end, we decided to not go for the services because it was just another thing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Another cost. And you were like, you know what? Having spoken to him, I think I can do it.
Yeah. And it was one of those things that, granted, I can't take it away from like website designers. I can't claim to be one. But after doing like a little bit of research and relying on my creative eye, I guess, it wasn't all that hard, really, because the platforms and like they do make it easy. You have templates to follow, things like that. You don't have to fork out. Granted, you are probably going to get it a lot quicker, a lot crisper. Like, I'm not taking that away from website designers. And I actually can't wait until we have...
Oh, yeah. It'll
one,
be a huge...
two, however many.
Yeah.
Like,
especially for when the website's being used frequently and you need it constantly updated. And that's when we'll need someone like almost keeping tabs on it. But right now, in terms of just, the basic template of it, you were able to do that. And
and it's something that like pretty proud of as well.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like, as we said, we're not like a that'll do kind of person.
Oh yeah. Taking some time. Yeah. It's really...
Yeah. Changed it maybe 4 or 5 times.
Yeah. And as I was going to say, I wish we could almost show the designs, like,
I have got them.
like a little, like display of them, because you wouldn't believe
the evolution.
The evolution, the changes of even the color scheme, or we've just gone a completely different direction, which, as we've said in previous podcasts, there's no reason why we won't circle back to that in another collection, because it all kind of relates. But we've gone for a different direction, and I feel like it needed to take that time to get to here, because imagine if we'd have launched with that, it would have been fine. But it's so much more finesse now,
and I think because it's more like cohesive and like current with the collection, our first collection that we're bringing out. It also, we had to factor in how it was going to appear on social media. Like, if we wanted things to look like, to marry up, basically, which we decided we did. You know, even like, stop saying like. Stop saying like. Pardon me. Even the thumbnails for YouTube.
Okay.
For example. I remember going back and forth with you saying, okay, I want the colour. I love how we've got the colour and the vibrancy. But some of our other things are quite like monotonous.
Yeah.
No, monotone.
Monotone.
Yeah. Monotone.
Yeah.
And I was like, how can we like combine the two?
Yeah.
So, again, pretty chuffed with the thumbnail.
Yeah.
Had that little spotlight in the middle.
It's worked well, hasn't it? Yeah, because for those of you that have been on our like social media accounts, and if you haven't, please do. We're on Instagram, for example. You'll see we have 2 pages. So we've got our commercial page, which is like hardly being used at the moment, because that is going to be where the actual I suppose
almost like the retail page.
Yeah,
isn't
the
it?
retail. So it'll be like the ads and where the actual launch itself takes place, where the garments,
where you'll see the models
featured.
And the shoot locations and all of that.
And so you'll already see from that the theme of, as you say, like the monotone, like black and white, basically theme is. And then if you go onto our We Are Venture page, that is the behind the scenes, full transparency. That's just us, basically.
I feel like we should do a little ding, 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 ding.
Yeah. Please click here.
Yeah, this one.
So that one, We Are Venture, is our like personal private Instagram, basically. And it's just us documenting the journey, really. So we're hoping that, kind of in line with the podcast, it will just channel a bit of like inspiration for people or be a bit of an insight. And there we've been able to be a bit more expressive, I suppose, and free with like not thinking, oh, how does the grid look? Like, how does it all look together? And so we have like the splash of color and things that is like integrated into that page. And yeah, it all has its
like
relevance.
The artist's sketchbook. You see the final piece and how it's all finessed, which is the Venture Lifestyles commercial page.
Yeah.
And then the We Are Venture page I see as the sketchbook with the scribbles and the like the behind the scenes, the thought process. That's how I would think of it.
And hopefully that does come across, like the commercial page, the website, the garments are all cohesive. And then the podcast and the behind the scenes, We Are Venture gram is more of a, like you say, a display
reality,
of creativity. Yeah, it's us not having to think about how this is going to look, or it's just, the raw image, I suppose.
Yeah.
So that's us on social media as well, isn't it? And even that, anyone who, I think these days a lot of people have, not only do they use social media, but they also have some form of like business linked page, or because everyone's advertising themselves in some way, aren't they, these days, whether it is their business or just them as a person, as like a personal blogger or whatever it is. And so most people understand that idea of having a brand and having like a cover photo and having your profile picture and your little bio. And again, when you make your own, it's just like, your name, your bio's, I don't know where you're from, and you just put a cute pic of yourself or you and your dog or whatever it is. Whereas for us...
Feel seen.
I know.
That's me.
Whereas for a business one, instantly, well, there's two of us involved. So it's like, oh, what do you think for the bio? What do you think? Like, it's just a whole collaboration again of like, how do we word this? Like, how is this going to be perceived? Like, we need it to be concise. We need it to be playful. We need it to be... all of that stuff. And then the cover photo, is that going to be the logo? Is it going to be the name logo? Is it going to be the shape logo? There's a lot. So we got there eventually, but again, it's just like a whole meeting in itself, isn't it? Of back and forth. And we're just still finding our feet really in terms of like even posting a story, or like how much we back and forth it. It's crazy, isn't it? Where especially something like just the other day, the text of that. Honestly, we drive ourselves mad sometimes.
Yeah, I'm going to get it up.
Yeah,
I'm going to get it up. I don't know if you'll be able to see it on the camera.
If you just get it on our WhatsApp and go back and forth. Oh my God. So it's
posted so people will see it.
Yeah, you'll see it on our Instagram, We Are Venture. So it was a little ad for the podcast, and just the text of the size, the order, like, is it Sunday 5 p.m. or is it 5 p.m. on Sunday? Like things like that. And I don't know if it's just our brains, but we literally go back and forth, and then I'll think I've decided, and then Rue will go, oh, what about this one, and send another one through.
Yeah, so I don't know. Can you see that clock?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's 5 there.
Yeah.
Another one. Back and forth, and another one, and another one. All look the same, and another one. What a faff.
And if you click on it...
and another one.
Sorry to be...
No, go.
If you click on it...
Yeah, literally, like...
Look at the different sizes. It is hilarious. Okay, so... And... I said to my partner, like, I was like, what do you think? Because sometimes you need some fresh eyes. And I decided on maybe 2 or 3 that I liked. So I was like, what do you think? This one, this one, this one. And he just started laughing. He was like, because it's so minor.
Yeah.
And then he was like, hang on, wait. Was that the first one? No, that one. So I was like, okay, Rube, Adam says this one. And she was like, oh, funny, Richard said that one as well. So we were like, there we go.
Okay,
they're just
fine.
like people with like... simple view of it, just
reiterating the fact that we faff and perfectionists and take too much time on very simple things.
But maybe
that's a good thing.
Yeah, it shows we care. You know?
Never mind. No, it doesn't. I was going to say, even though ultimately it really doesn't matter.
No, I know. It doesn't. But
for that, anyway.
Yeah, that's where we're at really. Even with every story we post, there's like a whole discussion about it. And again, like whether it has like an aesthetic or what we're trying to create with that.
Excuse me, I feel like a midget.
It's a lot, isn't it? But I think that, so in terms of social media, while we're on that topic as well, obviously the elephant in the room is TikTok. So we haven't gone there yet. It's not in our realm at the moment. And this is something that is pending. We have an account now. So for those of you that use TikTok, I'm sure it'll seem like obvious, but for both of us, we don't have the app. We just don't use it. I think it's not even an age thing, because it's not. It's just
I find it too overstimulating, and I know full well I will be that person that just I'll be scrolling and I'll be like, 3 hours has gone.
Yeah.
Like, I know that'll be me.
And don't get me wrong, I enjoy a reel.
Is that you as well?
Clark's nodding. Yeah, I enjoy an Insta reel. Don't get me wrong. And for me, that's enough. Like, I feel like I find a few cute recipes on there, a few little holiday reels, or a recommendation of like a nice restaurant in London. Like, that's all I need. Yeah.
Save it, folder it, categorize it.
Exactly. Share it with Rube. So that's fine. But I think for me, there's not the urge to have like a further. And I think initially when TikTok came out, because it was all like the dances and the little funny videos, again, it didn't really appeal to me. So never went there. And I think now it's more of just like a self-preservation thing. It's like a discipline of I'm not even going to go there, because once I start, So as I say, have loads of friends that use it.
And that's the thing. When I asked people about feedback for the podcast and the episodes we've done so far, because that's obviously, we want that constantly. Like, it's something, feedback is how we grow and better ourselves and like give you a better piece of content. So, and one of the main things that people said to me was, are you on TikTok yet?
Yeah.
No. I know we need to.
Yeah. But the problem is as well is, in my opinion, is once we start it, we know that you have to be consistent, especially as a brand, if you're having to like, if you're trying to use it for marketing purposes. So it's a whole commitment, basically, of us having to create content, put it out there. And because there's so many other things happening behind the scenes, it's just another ball to juggle that at the moment we don't have the clear head for. But
we're just going to have to hire someone, I think.
Well, obviously, eventually there will be someone for that. Because, we're happy to say that it's not, as soon as possible. So please email us with your CV. So, but I don't know. Watch this space. It's something that is coming soon.
Yeah, we'll try.
And again, it's like we will, as this podcast is about design, it'll be one of those where we have to decide how much of like the design aspects are taken into account, or if it's something that again is quite raw images. We just have to make a decision on the direction it goes, and then we'll go for that.
But for now, I feel like Instagram, obviously the different podcast platforms,
and then the website itself,
like
it's just a lot.
That's enough for now. But we'll try.
So I'm thinking design features, is that everything? I think that was everything I wrote down. Let me just have a little check.
Yeah, so because obviously in the previous episode we talked about mainly the clothing. Yeah. So we've touched this time on packaging, I guess,
the additional
and like
features.
The little bits that we've had to tweak that people probably overlook and don't think are a big design feature, but they really are.
Yeah, they are. So let's round it off. So thank you for listening, as always. Join us next time.
Please.
And whatever you're up to, have a good day.